So Preston, Forest, Sheffield United fans, it doesn't feel great to be in the bottom three at the moment. Let's talk about it. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. We have quite a few talking points to go over in today's video. We're going to pick out some of the talking points from the midweek action that we just had. We're going to have a bit of a focus on the current bottom three in the Championship. And as always, I want to get your guys' thoughts on everything that is going on around the Championship in the comments down below. Loads to discuss today. As always, if you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. But without any further ado, let's just jump into this one. So let's start out by talking about Sheffield United, who after 3 games currently find themselves in the bottom 3, and regardless of it being this early on into the season, there are some warning lights that are going off as early as it may be. Now in midweek they lost 4-0 to West Brom in a really shocking performance. West Brom put their marker down in this game from minute 1, and the warning signs were there, you know. The Sheffield United defenders are going to be having nightmares about Darnell Furlong for months to come now. His long throw-ins caused absolute havoc. West Brom had 2 goals ruled out before they eventually went on to take the lead, and they were in complete control of this one. No matter how much of the ball that Sheffield United actually had in this one, they looked so limp and lethargic in the final third, and so disjointed and in disarray at the back, that things are looking really troubling there at the moment. It's interesting as well because obviously Slav went into Sheffield United with the idea of, you know, building a new philosophy, and Valérien Ismaël very much went into West Brom to do the same thing there. But the contrast to each side starts the season couldn't be further away from each other at the moment. West Brom in the top 2, Sheffield United in the bottom 3. It's also worth flagging up again, but swapping Callum Robinson for Oliver Burke has to go down as one of the worst swap deals in the history of football from Sheffield United's point of view. If you watch the Championship 365 show we did on the channel the other day, I am backing Callum Robinson to be my Championship player of the season. I really think he'll be that good for West Brom this season. He scored another goal for them in midweek. He's perfectly suited to that front 3 and that Ismaël way of pressing from the front. But I am willing to give Slav the benefit of the doubt here because historically his teams have always started off slow. You know, we saw this from his time at Fulham. You know, we were several months into the season before the penny dropped and things eventually clicked. Well, Sheffield United are going to be relying on, you know, them going on that sort of run in weeks to come, because at the moment the early signs aren't all too promising. The next 6 games look very winnable on paper as they go up against Huddersfield, Luton, Peterborough, Preston, Hull and Derby. Those 6 games I think are going to be really defining here for Sheffield United because we expect them to be dominating the ball and we expect them to be scoring goals. The fact that they're the only Championship side yet to score a goal this season and they have the most expensively assembled forward line is worrying. There's a lack of cohesion there, and I don't think anyone at the club quite knows what the best combination is in terms of a forward 2 or 3, because there's so many different options and combinations that you can go with. Sometimes that can come back and hurt you a little bit. And another positive that we have to take into consideration with Sheffield United at the moment is the fact that they have Ben Davies to come into this squad. You'll know if you've been watching the channel for a few years now how much of a fan I am of Ben Davies. For his time at Preston, one of, if not the best left-sided centre-half in the Championship. A shame that he never really got his chance at Liverpool, but he absolutely breezes it at this level, and yeah, I think Sheffield United fans will take to him quite quickly. Next up then, let's go to Preston North End. Oh, where to start with Preston at the moment? We're currently bottom of the table. We are one of 2 Championship clubs who are yet to pick up a point this season, and I know that we're only 3 games into the season, and sort of from the outside looking in, it might feel like a bit of an overreaction from, you know, North End being this sort of up in arms at the moment with everything that's going on, but this is very much an extension of what's sort of been going on at North End behind the scenes for the last sort of like 15 to 18 months now. There's been a lot of grumblings for a long time. A lot of it's sort of been kept under wraps, but now with this start to the season, that's when it's really been brought to the forefront, as it were. We lost 1-0 in midweek to Huddersfield in another really dismal performance. I've seen people at the club, you know, come out and say, oh, you know, this is a step in the right direction, and stuff like that. Huddersfield fans, and I'm sure you guys will admit the same, that was 2 really poor sides going up against each other on Tuesday night. Huddersfield won that game without having a shot on target. The lack of quality in the final third for either team in this one was really shocking. You know, I heard Frankie come out after the game and say it's a step in the right direction. We didn't have a shot on target in the second half against arguably one of the shakiest defences in the league. Everything was route one. There was no sort of will to play through midfield to try and get the ball down. You know, in the first half, DJ tried to do it a little bit, but he very much faded out of the game as it went on. And I think that all the sort of toxic emotions and the fans' feelings towards the club at the moment really came out at full time. You know, the fans in that stand made their voices heard. You know, there were banners that were out there, people were being booed. There was an altercation with Alan Brown, our club captain, at the end between him and the fans. It's a problem at the moment which really goes from the top down to the bottom, because I look at the quality of the 11 on the pitch at the moment, and I really struggle, to be honest with you, to see who's going to be a game changer for us and who I can bank on week in, week out and say, you're going to put a shift in for us this week. At the moment, I struggle to name maybe 2 players who I can say that about. I mean, Daniel Iverson's gone from one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship last season to this, so far this season, having a save percentage of about 10%. Every shot on target against us at the moment is going in. And the fact that we have to play with the back 5 at the moment because none of our defenders are good enough to be put in with a 4 is seriously stifling our attacking options. You know, we didn't have a shot on target in the second half of this game, which is absolutely shocking. Saturday's game against Peterborough is absolutely huge for us now. Before the international break, we then have a game against Swansea after that. If we don't come out of those 2 matches with, I'd argue, at least 4 points, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it was the end for Frankie heading into that first international break. All the blame certainly isn't at his door, but there's problems right throughout the club at the moment. I saw a great tweet the other day saying that for the past few seasons it's felt like we've been trying to achieve promotion on the cheap, and now this season it feels like we're trying to avoid relegation on the cheap. If we don't go into these final few weeks of the transfer window with serious intent to get quality deals done in several areas of the squad, then I seriously worry for our chances this season. And then we also need to talk about the other pointless side in the Championship at the moment, along with Preston North End, that being Nottingham Forest, who lost once again in midweek, this time to the hands of Blackburn Rovers, who beat them by 2-1 at the City Ground. The pressure is seriously mounting there now on manager Chris Houston. There were chants saying, you know, you don't know what you're doing. I heard there was Sabri Lamucci chants there as well. So yeah, it's also not a good situation for Forest to be in at this point in time. And their fixture list before the international break also looks ridiculously tasty. Next up, they have an away trip to Stoke, which, judging by how Stoke are going at the moment, that looks like it'll be a really tricky tie. And then the final game they have before the international break is up against Derby. Should Derby do Forest over in that game, then things will seriously get messy heading into that international break. With the current situation that both clubs are in at the moment, so much is going to be riding on that game. It's going to be such a fascinating one, and right before the international break as well, I'd be very surprised if we don't get our first sort of managerial departure in and around that time. And with Forest at the moment, it does feel like there is something off with the management there at the moment, because the goals they've been scoring so far this season do seem to come from sort of like a bit of individual brilliance. They aren't coming from like a cohesive system which is, you know, consistently creating chances for themselves. It doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of sudden change in form that's going to be coming anytime soon. So Forest fans, I'm also very interested to hear your guys' thoughts on everything down below. And in today's video, we may as well speak about the other Championship sides who are yet to pick up a win this season. Next up, let's go to Blackpool, who lost 1-0 in midweek to Coventry. It did feel like a bit of a damning result, really, given some of the fixtures that Blackpool now have coming up. You know, the next 3 especially all look quite tough. They've got Bournemouth away, Millwall away, then Fulham at home. Huddersfield at home seems like a big game, but then straight after that they're right back in it with Middlesbrough away. So it's a tough run of fixtures now that Blackpool are going to have, and they're going to have to try and pull themselves out of this somehow. Now, Blackpool are in a slightly different situation to the other sides in the relegation zone at the moment, especially Preston and Forest, because I feel like even if Blackpool are dragged into this relegation scrap this season, and you know they are, you know, relegated come the end of the season, I still think they'll stick by Critchley. But what was always going to be their Achilles heel this season was, are they going to be able to score enough goals? You know, defensively they were very impressive in League One last season, but they were coming up to the Championship as the lowest scoring out of the 3 sides that were promoted, and so far this season that's sort of been apparent. You know, they've only scored 1 goal in their opening 3 matches. Coventry probably could have had more than that 1 goal that they scored in that game in midweek as well. Chris Maxwell pulled off a string of saves in that one. So with that start to the season that they made, and with those fixtures coming up, yeah, it does look like it'll be tough for Blackpool here. Swansea are also winless so far this season. It did feel like Stoke sort of had their number really in their game in midweek as they beat them by 3-1. I do feel for Russell Martin a little bit because he is trying to integrate this new philosophy into a side where he's, at the end of the day, you know, he's not had any pre-season with this group of players. It is a squad which at the moment is significantly weaker than it was last season. So this is going to take time with Martin, and I think the majority of Swansea fans are, you know, willing to give him that. And then the last winless side to talk about so far this season is Millwall, although that's maybe a little bit misleading because I don't think they've been really that bad so far this season. You know, opening day draw against QPR, decent result. You know, the first 45 minutes especially, they looked quite good for that game. They probably should have beat Blackburn with the chances they had in that one, just couldn't quite take them. And then, I mean, Fulham had the better of them, didn't they? But Fulham, I think, will do that to a lot of teams this season. So yeah, I don't think there's any sort of panic stations that are going off with Millwall anytime soon. But guys, that will wrap it up for today's video. Like I said, I just wanted to have a bit of a discussion about those sides who are in and around the bottom of the Championship at the moment. I know we've only played 3 games so far, but there were quite a few talking points that I wanted to go over with those sides who are struggling at the moment in and around the bottom of the table. Now, we will be discussing the games that went on in midweek in a little bit more detail in tomorrow's prediction video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But if you did go on to enjoy today's video, guys, make sure to leave a like, make sure to stick around and subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. Apart from that though, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.